we're kind of going back, and we've talked a lot about you guys trying to balance when's the right time to let a kid play here, and when's the right time to maybe back off and let him learn in Hartford. In retrospect, how much do you think the decision to let him get time in Hartford early in the year is benefiting him now? Like, how much do you think having that stepping stone was good for a guy like him?
I think it's really good for a young player like him that's trying to find his way. As I've said to you guys, one of the things that we look for all the time is, whether a player is being challenged versus whether a player is being overwhelmed. And we don't want to put our players in positions where we feel like they're being overwhelmed. We don't think that helps their overall development. If they can't have a certain level of success, then it affects their confidence, their self-esteem. It makes it hard for a player to continue to grow and develop at an optimal rate. That's just been my experience. And so, we're always trying to find that sweet spot where they're being challenged, but they also have the ability to have some success and play the game that's brought them that success to this point. So, we felt early on, Gabe would benefit more from competing at the American League level and having success. And so it's just part of the process. And so, I feel strongly that, that experience that he gets at that level serves him well when they get to this level, regardless of who the player is. In this instance, it's Gabe. There's no doubt in my mind that the experience that he gained at the American League level is invaluable to helping him take the step to the National League.
When you talk about taking a step, you guys are playing obviously very well at home in this homestand. Do you see that it could possibly benefit next year, or everything starts all over again next year? Does that have any translation to next year with the young players?
Yeah, I think, we're trying to, I've said this to you guys on a regular basis. You ask me these questions a million different ways. I give you the same answer. I think we're trying to build good habits. We're trying to define what we think Rangers hockey looks like that sets us up for success. We're trying to continue to move the needle by nature of getting better every single day. That's really the process. It's a daily endeavor, and we're trying to apply that process every single day. And we'll see where that takes us. Most recently, it's allowed us an opportunity to enjoy some success here at home, which I think is important for us, and that's something that this group has talked about a lot. Earlier on in the year, we had some struggles at home, and I know how much that impacted our group, and nobody cares more about what goes on than the players themselves. I know how hard that was for them, so for all of us. So I think the fact that we won a handful of games here, we put a pretty good stretch together at home, I think is a good thing for our team. Whether it carries on moving forward, that's yet to be seen, but I do think it's a good thing for our team right now.
With JT, obviously this was his first year being captain. How do you think he handled the responsibilities of being a captain with everything that's gone on this year?
I think JT has done a really good job in the leadership role that we cast him in, and he's, it's a big responsibility being the captain. And I think in my experience in working with JT this year, he cares deeply about what's going on, and he takes a lot of it on himself. I know it weighs on him, when we don't meet our own expectations as far as how we want to play or where we want to be. So I think under difficult circumstances, he's carried himself extremely well.
I wanted to circle back to you were talking about winning at home. Why is it so important to win at home versus anywhere? Like you have a winning record on the road, and yet guys just seem really bothered by the fact that they haven't done well at home. Like, why is that such a problem?
As opposed to winning
Anywhere,
Well, of course we want to win anywhere.
Why is it more special to win at home, I guess, is why.
Well, I think every team likes to pride themselves, in playing in front of their you know, their home fans that support them. And, you know, I think everybody that's involved takes that very seriously. And, you know, it's important to win anywhere.
Right.
You know, I'm not suggesting it isn't. If we struggled winning on the road, we'd probably be having the opposite conversation. So, for whatever reason, the way the season evolved, it was a struggle to find wins at home earlier in the year. And, you know, to a certain extent, you know, that became one of the challenges. I know it weighed on the guys. So, you know, I think one of the good things that has come out of this, you know, late part of the season is I think these guys have established themselves the way we had hoped to earlier in the year. We've established, you know, what we tried to establish this late in the season. So I just think it boils down to, you know, pride and the importance of playing your very best in front of the people that support you the most.
Is it confidence that you're putting the puck in the net now? Is that a big difference that the players are playing with confidence?
I think it's a lot of things. You know, confidence, I think success breeds confidence. So when you have success, I think everybody feels better about, you know, their own particular circumstance. And I think that breeds confidence. So, but I think, you know, how do you build confidence? We have these conversations with our players all the time. Confidence is fleeting. You can get it back as fast as you lose it. The way you get it back is through sweat equity. You have to invest. You got to work. You got to work at it. You got to work in practice. You got to work at your game. We have to build our team game. I think what's gone on most recently is I think we're building a team game where we're hard to play against, and we're creating offense different ways. Most specifically, we're creating a lot of offense off our own defense. We're a lot stingier defensively. We're making a commitment, you know, to playing the game the right way, so to speak. And I think the team game is what has allowed us to have success, and the players deserve a lot of credit. They're working hard at it. They're paying the price. You know, they're doing a lot of the little things. They're taking hits to make plays. They're winning pucks on the boards. They're winning a lot of puck battles. They're competing hard at the net fronts at both ends of the rink. So I do think it's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I think it's collective effort. I think it's a team game that we'll continue to try to build where we're harder to play against, and I think the players deserve a lot of credit for how hard they're competing out there.
What do you think made it the way Adam Edstrom has handled being thrashed, and do you want to give him another look and just these remaining game?
I think he's handled it extremely well. You know, I think he's been very professional about it. No player likes to sit out. So I know he's not happy about it. I'd be concerned if he was, quite honestly. So I think he's handled it extremely well. You know, Eddie and I have had a number of conversations around this, and you know, one of the things I always try to do is communicate with the players and explain the whys. You know, they don't necessarily have to agree with the decision. My hope is they'll respect the decision based on the conversations and the whys. And so, you know, Eddie and I have had a number of conversations around that, but I think he's handling it extremely well.
Just curious about something. Obviously, John got the Vegas job last week. Pete DeBoer got the Islander job. Fitz just got fired in Jersey. Do you think it's the start of a league-wide trend, like late season change, personnel changes, or are these kind of one-offs?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a trend. Is it?
I don't know.
I mean, what's the average tenure in a city for a coach nowadays?
Just
Not that long.
not long.
Okay, so where's the trend?
I'm just saying.
Just saying so late in the season?
So
is that
late
what
in the
you're
season,
asking?
yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think at the end of the day, all these circumstances are unique, you know, and it would probably be irresponsible of me to even weigh in on it because I'm not familiar with the circumstances, you know. It's easy on the outside to look at it and, you know, and opine, but we really don't know, you know, the circumstances that they go through on a daily basis. So here's what I'll tell you. It's a competitive league. There's more parity in the league than there's ever been. There's such a fine line between winning and losing, and it's hard to make the playoffs. You look at all the teams that are in the hunt, and there's a lot of reasons for that. The parity in the league, the way the league is structured, the 3-point games. You get a point for an overtime loss. It keeps everything tight. It's hard to separate. So there's a lot of reasons for it, but I think the parity in the league at the end of the day is the biggest, is the biggest aspect of it, and, you know, it's hard to win, and so, those are the pressures that we all deal with, those of us that are part of this business, that's what we deal with every day, it's what we sign up for.
So as a coach, nothing surprises you when you see stuff like that?
I'm not gonna say it surprises me, no, it doesn't, nothing surprises me in today's professional sports. You know, I just think what I try to do in my position is, you know, I really don't get overly concerned about that stuff. You just try to focus on what's in front of you and your job, and you try to do it to the best of your ability.
Both Gabe and Laugh have thrived playing with Mika recently, and I was just curious, is there something about the way that Mika sees the game, plays the game, that's allowed him to help with the development of those young guys, Gabe and Laugh? Yeah,
I think Mika's an elite player, and I think he's a very cerebral player. He's got a high intellect, and I think he's a good person on top of it. So, you know, I think he takes responsibility for helping some of the younger guys, and I think he's been a great mentor for both of those guys. You see him on the iPad on the bench, you know. I see it a lot more because I'm closer to it, but just the interaction he has with his line mates. You know, Mika and I have had conversations, just the two of us, about it. And, you know, and I think he's done a wonderful job just, you know, being a great mentor for those guys. He's very encouraging, but he's also demanding. And, you know, he wants those guys to stay hungry and to continue to work, understand why they have success. So I think those are the reasons why. But, you know, I think, you know, Mika's not a real rah-rah guy, but I think he's a quiet leader, and these are some of the ways that it manifests itself.
Mike, just one more on Gabe on that note. We've obviously seen the trajectory over the season has been pretty positive for him, and then the production has been good recently. What do you see as the next step for him? Like, you know, are there, going into the summer, a message that you have about, hey, you know, this would really, I think, help you level up even more, or just what do you see as his ceiling, I guess?
Well, I think that, you know, we're ecstatic with Gabe's overall growth and development this year. He deserves a lot of credit. He's put a lot of work into how far he's come, and you know, he works hard at it. And you know, what I see for his continued growth and development is to become a better version of himself. You know, he's playing to his strengths. I think he has a better understanding of how he can have success. I think he can get bigger, he can get stronger. By nature of that, he'll get faster, he'll be stiffer on pucks, he'll win more puck battles. So that I don't know that a player ever arrives, you know, to where they should be. I think that's part of the journey is, you know, the best players have an insatiable appetite to continue to become a better version of themselves. You know, I see it in guys like Mika and JT and these guys that are where they're at in their stage in their career. You know, they want to improve and get better and grow. You know, I think Gabe's at the early stages of his career, but he can become a better version of himself. How does that happen? First and foremost, I think he can get bigger and stronger. I think there's a huge window of opportunity for him there because he's so young, and I think he has an opportunity to develop his body physically. And part of our job is to help him do that. And, you know, we have the resources and the wherewithal with our strength and conditioning staff and our new team nutritionist, and you know, we're going to surround him with all the resources to try to set him up for success there. But that's what I would see in the most immediate future for Gabe's continued growth and development is just physically. There's a window of opportunity in this offseason for him to continue to grow as far as, you know, his functional strength. It will help with his foot speed, his quickness. It will help with his ability to protect pucks, to create separation, to be stiffer in the puck battles, to, you know, be harder at the net front, to be better on the wall, because he'll have a stronger center of gravity. He won't get pushed off as many pucks just by nature of being stronger and having functional strength. That's what I see in kind of the most immediate future for Gabe. But, you know, I think he can become a better version of himself in so many ways. He sees the ice extremely well. He makes a lot of really nice plays. He can continue to grow there. I think there's another level to his shooting ability. I think there's velocity and a release that he can continue to get better at. He's excellent at changing his angle. When you watch how he shoots the puck, one of the goals he scored at the net front, not the last game, the game before when he got the hat trick. You know, if you guys go back and watch it, he just his awareness to be able to change the angle. He pulls it 6 inches towards his body. That opens up the lane to allow him to score that goal. Those are the things. Number one, he sees it, and then he has the stick skills to be able to execute on it. Those are all the things that he'll continue to get better at. And so that's what I envision for his continued growth and development.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay,
Anyway.
sure.